What's going on, guys? It's GBP baby. Welcome back to another video. I hope everybody's doing well. Quite an ugly end to the rest of last week after CPI. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what we have to come this week. And we are approaching the end of the month, meaning that the week after this week will be NFP, I believe. So yeah, it should be an interesting week nonetheless. You can see we have quite a lot of high impact news on Thursday, Wednesday and Friday. Mainly Thursday I'm looking at very particularly. I think we're going to see a lot of movement off the back of that. And then Friday, I'd like to think that considering we have high impact news then, that we'll probably see a run, like a continuation of whatever Thursday gives us. So earlier in the week, Monday, Tuesday, I'm not expecting too much. The Fed chair, Powell speech, they tend to, I don't really like them because, you know, price just gets really messy and consolidated, and you'll see what I mean by that on Tuesday. So yeah, we'll dive straight into the charts. Let me just get rid of the current markings, and you can see that price, like I said, it didn't deliver as anticipated. We traded much higher than I expected. We actually ran out this high, and then price did start to trade lower, but it's just been messy, as in it's just closed within itself. So I'm not really too keen on the current price action. But one thing I do want to remind us is that we do have a perfect example of price returning to equilibrium. So if we look at this low and this high, you'll see that price closed at equilibrium, and ICT has taught this many times, how price will, you know, close at equilibrium, so to speak, or tends to return to equilibrium when it creates large ranges like that. So but nonetheless, let's dive straight into things. We are going to start on the weekly, and first of all, we need to figure out if we want to see an up close week or a down close week. Honestly, on the longer term, like if we're looking at the greater range, we're bearish, and we should remain bearish until proven otherwise. Nothing here signifies that we're bullish. Yes, we've had 2 up weeks, but other than that, nothing has signified that we should be trading higher. Therefore, I anticipate that we are going to have a down close week, because like I said, until proven otherwise, we should assume that we are still bearish. If we had taken out, say, this high right here from the week commencing 23rd of June, if we took out that high, it'd be a different story, because that would be a break in structure. However, because that hasn't been the state, because that hasn't been the case, and we've actually remained within the range of this bearish order block, as far as I'm concerned, we should continue to anticipate down close candles. So with that taken into account, we need to now identify where the highest I'd be willing for price to trade will be, and then where I'd want to see us trade down to in the discount. So with that all taken into account, let's now look at the previous week's wick. I'm looking at that, and I'm going to look at the midpoint of that as a potential high of the week. This is what we call consequent encroachment. And basically, as far as I'm concerned, if we are to remain bearish, price shouldn't ideally be trading through that level. So I'm just going to write weekly consequent encroachment, push that to the right. And then after that, I'm out. And then in terms of where we're going to expand to in the downside, we can see a very clear volume imbalance right here. So it'd be nice to see a price can attempt to fill that. You can see that price just opened, and then we also have a fair value gap below that as well right here. So there are quite a lot of imbalances in the discount, which would be nice for price to trade into, but this will be the very highest I want to see price trade. Ideally, it doesn't even get up there, but as we get to the low time frames, we should be able to identify PD arrays around this range that can help us you know, see why price may want to trade up. So let's go to the daily, and you'll see quite the complicated price action we have, with a lot of down and up close candles, a lot of large wicks, etc. And again, this is that midpoint from the weekly I'm talking about. So it's not really much more clear, but I am going to still mark out sell side's lows below daily lows. So I'm looking at this low as a nice draw on liquidity, and then eventually I'd want to see this low get taken. And then again, that volume imbalance still remains very relevant on the daily as well. So excuse me, that would be nice for price to be able to trade down into that. So if we go to the 4 hour, you can see we've also gaps lower. We've just opened, so I don't want to speak too much. And also in terms of predicting, typically prices will trade higher, create some kind of high on Monday or Tuesday, and then trade on lower. So ideally, I'd want to see some kind of rallying. If price manages to stay above this bullish order block right here, if price manages to stay above it on Monday, then I'd expect us to rally maybe above this swing high right here and into this range. So I am looking at this nice premium, basically, is what I'm saying, to see if price can get up into that. So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, if price can stay above this bullish order block in the entire range, I'm happy for us to expect that price will maybe create a high here or trade into this. However, if this gets absolutely, disregarded, then obviously price will likely roll over and head straight down into the discount, and then we'll have to think about returning it back into equilibrium as we move later into the week with the higher impact news. So I don't want to say too much. I tend to let Monday trade first anyway. I don't trade Mondays. Mainly I trade Wednesdays, Thursdays and Tuesdays sometimes, but Mondays I never trade. And usually I don't even recently I haven't even been posting weekly reviews on Sundays, just because I like to let Monday do its thing. So that's just something to take into account. So let me skip rid of that, and then we'll drop down to the 1 hour, but this is going to be the lowest time frame we go to for now. And again, there's that premium I'm looking for, and ideally price, like I said, ideally I'd like to think that price can be held by this level. I'm just going to mark it out. You'll notice I'm marking out the wick more specifically, because any deeper than that and it does get a little bit sticky, so to speak. So I want to see if price can hold that. In fact, let's just make this a box in itself. I'm using a lot of yellow right now. Let's make it black. Get rid of this, get rid of this. Let's make these different colors as well, just because I'm not really keen. And we'll make this blue, a very light blue. There we go. But right now my eyes are just set on here, and I will get the daily dividers up just so that we can get a better look at Monday, and then I'll mark out Sunday, which is where we've just opened now. So ideally Sunday will consolidate, and then we'll see some kind of rally in either into here being a stretch, and then staying above this wick will keep me happy. And then once we've reached that premium, then and only then will I remove this, and I'll be happy to start targeting this as a potential low. So I hope that all makes sense. But yeah, I'm going to let Monday trade first, but at least this just gives us a basic idea of where we want to see price trading for now. So with that all done, let's head on to GBPUSD. And again, similarly, what's interesting about GBP is it actually did do as anticipated, in terms of it traded lower into the range, touched that fair value gap which I spoke about. Price then expanded out of it. Disgusting price action, by the way. Look at how much back and forth price action there was, and then price did manage to trade up and take out our buy side liquidity. So when I see delivery like this, yes, it's gorgeous, because obviously we called this high, and you can see our price targeted it. It traded down into our discount, our bullish order block, just as anticipated. Now it did overshoot it, and this is where wicks do the damage, guys. It overshot. Remember I was saying that I didn't want us to disrespect this level, but you can see it did, and this is where a lot of people would have got caught out. So you got to be very careful, especially when it's messy like that. But nonetheless, it's nice to see. It's nice to see price deliver, as anticipated. And on the 4 hour, you can see that although we've wicks down there, volume has still respected that bullish order block, which I spoke about. So generally speaking, really nice week. I was really happy with it. And the fact, now this is what I call a significant break in market structure, which will tell me I want to see price trade higher, because as far as I'm concerned, this high shouldn't have got violated if we wasn't going to try and trade on higher. Yes, we did very deeply retrace, and I'm not too keen on it, but that's just something to take into account. So we are going to start on the weekly here as well, and what we'll do is we'll get rid of everything. And I can't lie, GBP is looking very bearish right now. In fact, it's making me lose confidence in wanting to go in line with what I was saying on dollar, as in we should assume bearishness, just because we haven't been proved otherwise. Same with GBP, well, I say that we've taken out this low, which is quite significant. So this is where it gets a bit sticky, really. And what we should do, actually, before we head on, let me just get rid of this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add EURUSD, and we're going to look at them all compared. And we should be able to see some kind of divergence happening right now that can help us align our goals, so to speak. So yeah, let's take a look. So yeah, GBP is the one that's hinting to us right now. So what I mean by that is that GBP's made a lower low right here, just about made a lower low, and then you see that euros failed to make a lower low, and dollars failed to make a higher high. So as far as I'm concerned, there's that showing weakness in dollar, it's showing strength in euro, and pound's the only one that's hanging around down here. divergence is difficult because it either means that GBP's, throwing its hands up saying, look what we're doing, we want to sell off, and we want to see some large expansion. And if that's the case, then this is our opportunity to get in on euro and go short now with the expectation that it's going to run very fast to these lows, and then we'll see some large expansion on dollar, to expand higher. That could very well happen, guys. And again, this is why I want to let Monday trade. But what I'm saying is that this is a perfect example of divergence whereby pound is tipping its finger at us, like it's tipping its hand out saying, look, we're going to go lower. And then because euro has yet to reach down to the same lows, we should be able to get a lot of movement on the back of it. So that's just something to take into account. And I'm looking at it like this. I have a lot of doubt that price is going to be able to return back into its range, because like I said, this is a break of market structure technically. So really, I'm bearish. I'm looking bearish now on dollar, on pound. This is what I struggle with, because obviously I've just told you that I'm bearish on dollar as well. Sorry, let me say that again. I'm bearish on pound, but this is what I struggle with, because I just said that I'm bearish on dollar as well. So how does that work? Obviously, these things affect one another. So that's just something to take into account. But nonetheless, all we can do for now is mark out a few things which should be acting in order for us to either complement our bias, or if it gets violated, then it will swing the other way. So first of all, this is now a bearish order block. As soon as we traded through this low, that then activates this to be a bearish order block. So the open off this should be significantly sensitive to price. And then in terms of where we could be trading to, I'm liking to look at this sell side liquidity. Now, as far as I'm concerned, there is a premium fair value gap right up here, so price could very well want to try and reach into that, which would be nice because that's in line with our bias on dollar. But again, this is the open of a bearish order block. So as far as I'm concerned, if we find that price is failing to get above here, then we'll probably see it reflected in dollar as well. And then I'd simply move to euro with more confidence that we are going to be rolling over and running down into some kind of sell stops. But again, this is why I let Monday trade, because this has just confused me at this point. So overall, I'm looking to see if price can get down here, and then it'll be interesting to see if we do rally into this opening of the bearish order block from the daily. I hope this is all making sense, guys. The weekly bearish order block even. If we do make it into that, that's where I'd want to be looking for shorting opportunities, if at all. But again, I'm going to let Monday trade. Yeah, interesting to say the least. Very interesting price action. Like I said, it did take out this high though. And as far as I'm concerned, it shouldn't be able to do it if we wasn't going to be trading higher. But seeing the way we retraced back into itself, it's looking a bit quite significant. So I'm going to mark these lows out as well as sell stops, because there should be some residing below there. We are going to go to EURUSD. Apologies, this isn't as in depth. I think after Monday we should have a much better or cleaner idea of what we're anticipating. And then if we go to the daily, excuse me. Oh, sorry, we'll go to the weekly even. And again, you can see how we traded down into a bullish order block. So there's very much potential for us to, remain bullish. We haven't been proven otherwise because this low hasn't been taken. And, all we've done right now is technically just filled this fair value gap in right at the bottom of it. So there's no reason that price can't climb out of it. And with that taken into account, then I'll be looking at last week's highs as a drawn liquidity. Like so. And then in terms of the lowest I'd want to see price trade, definitely here, because this is what we call a rejection block. And you can see that because when price created the low here, it traded higher away from it. So if we can make this black and put a midpoint in that, which will be consequent encroachment of this wick as well, hope you're following along, that would be the lowest I'd want to see price trade. So let's, if our mouse wants to work, so let's get that all delineated clearly. And then that gives us a range as to where the lowest I'd want to see price trade for us to then turn around and ideally trade higher, in line ideally with dollar again, if it's going to create some kind of premium, maybe that orange range which I spoke about, and then trade on lower. But yeah, all in good time. And you can see here, not the cleanest price action, not really much I want to get involved with. There's a nice bullish order block inside of this range though. You can see the open off that's just above the wick, so it'd be nice to see if price can tap into that, which is also a fair value gap between this high and this low. So if price can tap into that and then use that as a springboard to trade on higher, that would be ideal. And again, we've got some buy side liquidity residing above here and here, so where price might want to reach later in the week. But again, Monday should be much more telling, and then the Fed power speech will probably mess us up again. So what can we do? Messy times right now, but I hope that all makes sense. That's going to be my weekly review for now. But overall, I'm anticipating at this very point right now, I'm anticipating that dollar can trade lower, run out sell stops, and start to run back into its range. And then ideally, in line with that, GBP will get out of the mud in terms of this disgusting consolidation, trade higher, start trading into its premium fair value gap, and same with euro as well, to trade higher and start running for buy stops. That's what I want to see this week as of now. But we could get to Tuesday or Wednesday, and that could completely change depending on whether we are respecting or disrespecting the PD arrays we have delineated. So that's going to be everything, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to drop a like, drop a comment, smash subscribe, join the mailing list. All of the links are in the description. I know you guys are active in the Discord, so make sure to join it, guys. It's very active, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Peace.